Hello, lovely, lovely yogis. Welcome. We are going to make a start. I'm going to bring in something a little bit different today, and you're kind of welcome to participate as much, engage as much or as little as you like, of course. Yeah, essentially I'm going to bring in a little bit more music, and I want to explore this concept of expression and of song. This lovely book, reference it all the time. This is lovely Mark Nepo again, and kind of came back to me last few days, this beautiful passage that he had, that I'd read, that he'd given out, I think back in like March, the other M, March. And it's about being born singing. And he's talking about how literally when we enter the world, we start crying, or as he would say, singing, but we're expressing. And it's that first cry that literally allows the air to come into our lungs and starts to give us life. And as we kind of go through life, we kind of get convinced that expressing ourselves, singing, or whatever it might look like for you, is a luxury and not a necessity. But often it's these moments of expression that really allow us to come into, this sort of like alive state. You may or may not know, I used to work as a performer, and it really resonates with me. I often, really miss that expression. But then in the same way, my movement practice has become this amazing expression of all of these different things that, well, just all these different parts of me, all the different things that kind of need expressing, moving, sighing, groaning. But he finishes this passage by talking about how the breath that sits within us is basically this sort of like ancient and consistent song. It's this sort of ever-present expression. And so we're going to begin just by listening to the breath. So get yourself somewhere comfortable, whether you want to lie down, be seated, use any props or cushions that will be helpful today. And we'll begin by simply listening to the breath. So you can allow the eyes to close, or if you prefer, just start to soften the gaze. Allow the top of the head to draw tall, and then inviting a softness into the body. Beginning to let yourself land in your space. Beginning to allow yourself to start to really be here, to start to ground. Today, as we begin, we're going to see if we can first just simply listen to the song that might be present in this moment. I think viewing the breath as a song of a form of some expression or another, for me anyway, really helps to release the judgment of what it should or shouldn't sound like. And instead, it's just an expression. So doing your best to not control it. I know it's super challenging. Give yourself grace. But see if as we begin first, you can just take time to listen to what might be there. If it feels good to keep the breath natural, feel free. Or if you prefer, we can gently start to deepen or elongate the breath. With an ujjayi within your practice, beginning to gently control the breath in the throat. Maybe finding an audible breath might make it a little easier to listen to your song. And as with every practice, I want to invite you to really allow the breath to be your guiding force. Your connective tissue, and a communication from your inner world. Let's take one more inhale together. If you'd like to, you can sigh it out. Then we're going to open the space. You can either take 2 more sighs if you like. You could take a hum and then an om, or you could take a sigh and then a hum. So I kind of said that in the wrong order, so it might have been confusing. If you prefer to keep it as sighs, it will be 2 sighs. If you want to experiment with a bit more vibration, you could try a hum, or if you're comfortable with chanting or you'd like to give om a go today, we can extend it out to om. So I'll be taking a hum, then an om. Feel free to adjust in your own way. Let's take a deep inhale. Returning to your breath. Or gently ease into movement. Next inhale, let's start to lift up the arms. Bring the hands to prayer up above the head. As you exhale, press the palms onto one another, drawing them down through center. One more like that. Inhale is going to sweep up. If you like, you can start to look up. Think about lifting the armpits. Exhale, press the hands onto one another. We're going to lift up the arms one more time. Then we're going to interlace the hands as we get there. Press the heels of the hands to the ceiling. Inhale. And then gently peel over to the right hand side. Breathe into the sensation. Allow yourself to be there with it. Then we're going to create a little circle. Be gentle with yourself. Dome the spine. Think about drawing the hands down, all the way over. Oh. This one's good if you've been doing a lot of sitting or hunching over. Inhale back to center. Second side. One more breath. Start to draw that circle round. Chin to the chest. Oh, lovely. Over the other way. Oh, and then let it release. Any little movements? Oh, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. Movements you need to take, feel free. You need to itch your nose. Okay. Then we'll make our way to the tabletop. So, taking your hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, we'll begin with a little bit of organic movement. So you can just begin to explore sensations in the body in your own way. If you're familiar or you prefer to take a traditional cat-cow, you're welcome to. I'll demo that if you haven't seen it before. Or if you prefer, I want to really invite you just to start to explore some organic movement as you ease into the body. So that could be quite slow, quite static. You could think about circles, spiraling, or just really allow yourself to move into the body, move into sensation. A lovely friend of mine, I was in their class the other day. We were doing something similar, and they kind of offered out this challenge of maybe see if you can move the body, especially if you've been practicing for a while, in a way you haven't before. So try to explore, maybe you find something new. Nice. You're going to start to release the wrists. You can turn the fingertips either out to the side, or start to reach them back to the knees. Again, continuing any little movements. Just 2 more breaths at your own pace. Turn the fingertips back forwards. So start to grip the fingers. Inhale here. Exhale, tuck toes and lift up the hips to come towards your downward facing dog. It's our first full down dog at the practice. So please feel free to be gentle with yourself. If you want to start with both the knees bent, or maybe bending one than the other, or just starting to explore, movement in your own way. You might want to shake the head a little bit. If the breath constricts, a sigh, use as much noise as you like. Again, maybe you challenge yourself to move in a way you haven't before. Slowly start to come back to your neutral variation of the pose. Let's inhale, come to tiptoes and bend the knees, looking to the hands. Pause as you exhale. Then we'll make our way to the top of the mat, whether it's a tiptoe, a step, or a jump. We'll all meet in Uttanasana, forward fold, little bend in the knees, chin drops down to the chest. If you want to take a little bit of movement, feel free. Might feel good to take a little sway if you like. You can play with twisting here, that's often a really nice option. Taking a hand to the ground or a block and then sweeping up the opposite arm. Just 2 to 3 more breaths in your own way. Beginning to explore the body and allowing the breath to guide you as you move. Releasing any binds, positions with the arms. Next exhale. Let's come the whole way to standing. Pressing down through the feet, lifting up your hands. Start to look up to the thumbs. Samastitihi, hands down through prayer. Couple breaths here. Decide what feels best in the feet today, whether it's a hips distance day, maybe wider, or the toes want to be together with the heels apart. See what feels the most grounding. And then we're going to play with a little bit of movement. If you like danger, doing it with the eyes closed can be fun. But just starting to shift your center of gravity forwards and back, side to side. Or maybe you get a little more creative, a little more explorative with the movement, knowing that it's going to make you wobble. And actually that's kind of what we're looking for. We tend to wobble when we kind of do something new and the body does something it hasn't done before. So see if you can give yourself a nice genuine wobble. And then when you feel ready, we're just going to begin to release that movement and just allow the body to start to find its way to center. So if you kind of, as you've explored these different bits of sensation around the feet, then see if you could start to explore what it would feel like to balance the press between all these different points. Toes, heels, sides of the feet. Maybe the glutes gently engage as you ground. Think of lifting the top of the head and softening the shoulders. If you'd like to, we'll take one more sigh. You can roll the shoulders whole way to empty. We'll start with a Surya A. Inhale, we sweep up the arms, we look up to the thumbs. As you exhale, a little bend in the knees, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale is a half lift looking forwards. If you have your own variation, go for it. If you're with me, we take the hands to the ground. We're going to step back to plank and drop the knees. Inhale to look forward, press the ground away. Exhale, draw the elbows in to lower down. Inhale will be a cobra, grip fingertips, drag the chest through. Exhale, we're going to meet back in down dog. As always, down dog can always be swapped out for other poses. You might want to take a child's pose instead. A tabletop can often be a really lovely option. Or if you wanted to make it stronger, you can have the elbows down to the ground for your dolphin pose. Take a few moments to decide where you'd like to be. And then tuning back into the breath. See if you can take a hold of it again, really ease it in. Release it out. From where you are, we'll start to come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look to the hands. Then inhale brings you forwards. Think of the chest lifting as you come forwards. Exhale to fold. Whole way to standing. Press down through your feet. Lift up the hands, lift up the gaze, look up to the thumbs. We're going to keep it flowing straight back down as you exhale, forward fold, dive down. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hands to the ground. You can walk, step or jump. This time we'll come straight down on the exhale. You can stick with cobra. We're going to play with up dog, similar feeling of dragging the chest through, but press through the tops of the feet, work on lifting the thighs. Exhale brings you back to your pose of choice. Child's pose, tabletop, down dog, or if you haven't seen dolphin pose before, it would look something a little like this. One more breath. If you've been anywhere else, returning back to down dog. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look to the hands. Inhale comes forwards, chest lifts. Exhale down. Last Surya A. Press down through feet. Lift up hands, ground the big toes. Need to move that light. Straight back down as you exhale. Folding down. Inhale to lift. If you're working on your jumps, it can always be nice to roll a bit of weight forwards, and that will lift the hips a little higher before you start to come back. Inhaling. Exhaling. 3 to 4 breaths. Maybe noticing the sensations. Might be under the hands, the shins, the toes. Nice. Let's take one more breath. If you left down dog, we'll return. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look past the hands. Inhale brings you forwards. Exhale, forwards. Whole way to standing. Press down through your feet. Start to lift up, lock up. Hands come down. Few breaths here. If you'd like to sigh it out, feel free. Tadasana. One more inhale. Letting it go. We'll make a chair pose. Bend your knees, start to sweep the arms up by the ears. Surya B variation. Exhale down to fold. Inhale, you lift. Your transition back to down dog. Vinyasas are always optional. Exhale brings you back. You look forwards and lower. Inhale, lifts. Exhale, down dog. This time we're going to inhale the right leg up to the sky. Take the knee to the nose, dome the spine, press the ground away, almost like you're taking your upper back to the ceiling. Inhale the leg high. Exhale, one more like that, knee to nose, press away, look in between the thumbs. Inhale the leg high. And then we're going to start to step the foot towards the hand, and we're going to work a low lunge. Bring the back knee down. Inhale's going to start to sweep up and lift up. So from here, we're going to lift up the arms. You can take the hands onto one another. Kali Mudra, first finger lifts up. Maybe some movement if you like. If you want to, you can play with a little bit of a bounce. Dropping the hips, fingers back, squeeze glutes, press through your front big toe. If you're a very bendy babe, or maybe you want to start to work a little bit more strength, you can start to peel up the back foot and think about like you were going to bend at the elbows. Start to bring your hand and your foot towards one another. Take one more breath. Exhale, release. Dome the spine here, kind of think like cat-cow. Come back to neutral, and then we'll lift up the right arm. We're going to go to our supported side plank. Left foot comes out to the side. Swing the right leg to the back of the mat. You might want to hold, or you could come into a bind. Maybe it's hand to foot. Maybe it's foot to elbow. Looking to the ceiling in your option. Squeeze glutes. Exhale. We're going to start to release towards our vinyasa. Maybe knees together, maybe feet together. Inhale. Exhale, lowers. Inhale, lifts. Exhale, down dog. Second side, inhale the left leg high. Exhale, knee to nose, press the ground away. Inhale, high. This time experiment with looking in between your thumbs. Inhale, high. And then we start to work to low lunge. So bringing the foot towards your hands, take your time to get there. Right knee down, and inhale, we're going to sweep up the arms again. Interlace, notice how you did it intuitively. Switch your thumbs, switch your fingers. Kali Mudra always feels weird, always feels weird. You can take some movement, you can work a bounce if you like, or maybe you peel up the back foot. Challenge yourself to see if you can stay breathing in the option you come to. Squeeze the elbows together. One more breath. Start to release. Dome the spine, fingertips to the ground. Inhale, you start to twist. Peel up the left hand. We swing the left leg to the back of the mat. Right foot comes out kind of like a kickstand. You might want to stay, or there's those bind options again. We can bend the foot. It can shimmy into the elbow crease. That one's actually easier in socks. Little cheat sheet for you there. One more breath. And slowly we release. Might be knees together, might be feet together. Inhale, look forwards. Exhale, lowers. Inhale, your chest opener. Exhaling, coming back to pause in a pose for 4 to 5 breaths. Might be down dog, could be child's pose, could be tabletop. I'm going to remove my socks. Now we've got that pose out of the way. It's not actually why I had them on. Not important. One more breath in your option. Let's start to come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look to the hands. Press through the palms if you're jumping. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Make a chair pose. Bend your knees. Sweep the arms up by the ears. And then we're going to start to twist. So as you exhale, work your right elbow down towards the left thigh. So it might touch easily and you can work leverage here. If you find there's any space, extending the arms is a really nice option. Maybe you take the hand to your hip, you can kind of find that same leverage. We're going to think top of the head forwards. Exhale, maybe you sit a little lower.
Nice. Start to look down to the ground. I'm going to play with some balance. So come onto your right big toe. Maybe you could play with lifting the heel or even start to extend the leg back. Any of the options are great. Try to keep breathing. Then we're going to bring it up to upright. So now start to bring the right knee into your chest. Lift the hands to prayer. Press through the left heel. Take a breath. Soften your eyes. Warrior 3. 3 breaths. Heart forward. Think of the length in the pose. Maybe tuck the right hip down. 1 more breath. And then we let the right foot come down. Inhale the arms up. We're going to circle. Think of drawing up and back. 1 more like that. Inhale. You can start to exaggerate that circle if you like. Exhale, opens. We're going to lift the arms up 1 more time. And this time you find a warrior 2. Wrapping down the back heel. Then try balance the press between your heels and your toes. 1 more breath. Reverse the warrior, flip your front palm. If you'd like to, you could play with coming onto the tip toe with the front foot. 1 more breath. Bend the left knee, draw it to the left. Then slowly we're going to work towards our half moon. This might be where you want to grab a block along the way. We're going to take the left hand to the ground or to your block in front of the left foot and start to peel up the right leg. You can lift off the left hand, maybe flex the right foot, or if you wanted to come back to a bind, you can start to bend the leg, reach the hand back to the foot, or you can work back into the elbow, but we've got a little less stability. Be kind to yourself. 1 more breath. And then we're going to release it to Uttanasana, forward fold. Look to the ground, square the hips. And the feet touch down. Little bit of movement, little sway. Then when you're ready, we'll find our second side. I'm going to take off another layer. I was way over ambitious with my clothing choice. Send the hips low. Inhale. Exhale to twist. Finding your variation. A little bit of leverage on the arm, on the legs, head forwards, right shoulder back. 1 more breath. Look down to the ground. You can come onto the left big toe and hold. Maybe the heel lifts. Maybe the leg extends back. 1 more breath. Then we're going to start to draw that left knee into the chest. Take it slow. Press down through the right foot. Squeeze the right glute. Left knee lifts. Warrior 3. 2 breaths. You got it. And as slowly as you can, we're going to place that left foot down. 2 circles. Inhale. Exhale, opens. Think of leaning back. 1 more. Exhale. We'll lift up the arms. Then this time it's warrior 2. You might want to widen your stance. Take your time to find the pose. And then settling in, balance your press, lift the top of the head. Soften the shoulders. Next, inhale, reverse the warrior. Right arm comes up and over the head. Maybe you float to the right big toe. 1 more breath. Then we'll start to play with half moon. Right hand can come to the ground or to a block in front of the foot as we start to work on peeling off the left leg. You can stay, you can bind. If you feel super comfortable, you could even play with starting to lift the weight out your right hand. 1 more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly begin to let it release. Feet come down to the ground. Let's forward fold. If you want to sigh it out, sigh it out. can take a little roll of the head, maybe a little sway side to side. Then from here, we're going to come onto tiptoes and then take the knees out nice and wide. You can peel the fingertips forwards and then create a little dome in the upper back. So this is going to start to make some space into the upper body, the hips, the feet. It might feel delicious. You might just want to stay here. If so, feel free. It'll be about another 5 breaths. Or it's a great prep towards Bakasana Crow. If you like, it could be Bakasana to headstand. If you know where you're going, go for it. If you want some guidance, we'll take the hands under the shoulders for crow. Remove any hazards. If you're going headstand, make sure you've got enough space in front of you. And I like to think of a triangle. So the hands are going to be the bottom of the triangle, where I'm looking, and then where I'll put my head is the top of the triangle. Grip fingertips, lift the hips high, and start to shift your weight forwards. You might hold, see what it feels like to take weight into the wrists. Maybe you float the feet. Maybe you bend the arms. Slowly tuck the chin to place the top of your head down for your headstand. Then we can squeeze the knees onto one another. Maybe legs to the ceiling. So you're going to start to plan your descent. If you're in crow, you could shoot back or step back. If you're with me in headstand, we'll pike the legs. And then your next exhale, arms are already in the position. You're going to think of pressing back. Inhale. If you're still in the squat, you're going to start to step back. And we're going to meet in downward facing dog. Big inhale. If you want to sigh it out, sigh it out. Now, this next little sequence is going to have quite a few options on it. I'm going to start by inhaling the left leg. Bend the knee and open up the hip. One more inhale. And then let's step the left foot towards the top of the mat. So first, actually, we'll all work option 1. Let's inhale, sweep up the arms. Exhale, we'll come back to a twist. So right elbow or the forearm coming down towards your thigh. Create a little bit of pressure, top of the head forwards. And then our transition is we're working towards a twisted chair. So you can start by just shifting the weight forwards. Option 1 will be slide the foot up. Twisted chair, ta-da, inhale. And let's all slide it back. Okay, got 2 more options. Option 2, you lean forwards, maybe see if you can really point that leg, take a tiny bit of balance along the way. Might be a millimetre, might be an imaginary millimetre, but we're just looking for the intention, the pressing down. Inhale. Oh, let's take a forward fold before we come to set 3. All right, well, option 3 is for my arm balance babes. So it's going to be Kundanyasana, then you'll bring the feet together to land yourself in. So it's like you're going to side crow to land in twisted chair. It'll make sense in a second. So you take the arms towards the outside of you. You're going to lean forwards. Catch yourself on the elbows to extend the legs. Then you squeeze them together. Drop the feet down. Ta-da! Twisted chair. One more breath. Inhale through chair pose through center. Sigh it out to fold. We're going to release out that left glute. Inhale the left knee to the ceiling. Exhale, flex. Sit the hips down low. So we're going to pause and we're going to keep it as twisted chair. Or if you prefer, you could go to your lotus bind. So the lotus bind, you would straighten the leg. Take the foot to half lotus. You can bind around the back. Inhale. If you're in your lotus, you could fold it down. Same for those of us in figure 4. You might want to take your blocks for the hands. Straighten the right leg. And think about dropping chin to chest. One more breath here. Slowly, slowly, we're going to unravel. Feet to the ground. Second side, we'll take it through a half Surya to reset. Inhale, sweep up, look up. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale down. Make your way back to down dog. You can vinyasa if you like. You can step yourself straight there. Maybe take a moment to rest. And then if you're continuing to flow, we meet back in down dog. Find your grounding sensations. Press the ground away. Inhale, the right leg lifts. Bend the knee, open the hip. One more breath in. Then we work it towards our twisted lunge. So stepping the right foot to the top of the mat. Inhale, crescent lunge to sweep up. Exhale to twist. Top of the head forwards. Wrapping the shoulder back. Option one, we slide, slidey slide. Ooh, twisted chair, inhale. Exhale brings you back. Option two, maybe you work on pointing that left foot. Maybe we lift the leg. Oh, and then down, inhale. Come through chair pose. And then fold. Take a bit of movement, maybe side to side, forwards and back. My mat is wiggling its way forward, so I'm just gonna move that. Okay. Last variation. Take the foot back. You might be on option one, option two. If you're taking your arm balance, we go Kundanyasana 1, starting to lift the feet, extend the legs, squeeze the knees together, place the feet down, land in your twisted chair. Were you breathing? Fairly sure I forgot. One more breath. Inhale through center. Exhale to fold. We release out second side. Inhale the right knee up. So this time I'm going to demo this in the figure 4. If you want to go to your half lotus, feel free. Flex the foot. Start to sit your hips down low. Lift the heart to the thumbs. One more breath. Then our folded variation, start to straighten the legs. Take the hands down. Maybe you're bringing them onto a block if you want a little more support. 2 blocks would be better. I'm being lazy. One more breath. Then slowly we take the feet down to the ground. Take your blocks out to the side if you are using them. I'm going to come back to the top of the mat. We're going to think about this feeling of touching the toes towards one another as we come back. So if you prefer just to step back, you're welcome to, but this is if you're working your jumps. We're going to think about lifting the feet and the hips up before we come back, working towards tuck handstand. If you have your tuck handstand, feel free to go for it. So you're going to take the hands to the ground. You're going to roll forwards and first take a little bend in the knees. See if you could touch the toes. Come back down. Might be fun, might be scary. If you've got a wall, it can be nice. We're gonna go again. So inhale, tiptoes. Press the ground away, bend your knees. Tuck the toes onto one another. One more time, nice. I'm gonna try demo it through tuck handstand. I don't know if it will happen, but we'll see. So what you would do is you take the weight to the hands, bend your knees. We think of bringing the toes up just a little higher. I'm really going to use my back bend, squeeze the knees together, then to come back, split the legs, bend the elbows to bring you down. We did it. Inhale. However you get there, or come back to a resting space of your choice. So, could be a child's pose, could be a seat, anywhere that the body has some support. Then we'll take a couple sighs together. Deep inhales. Letting it go. Take a little bit of time to allow the body to settle. Start to find your grounding again on the mat. One more inhale. And when you're ready, just gently bringing yourself back towards the space. Okay, there's going to be a couple options for this next sequence. It's one that's a little more restorative, one that's a little more dynamic. Oh, I'm feeling pretty pooped. So my heart says to stay in the restorative, but I will demo the dynamic for anyone that wanted to give it a go today. So the more restorative, we'll use puppy, opening into the upper back. So puppy pose, I always like hands a little wider than shoulders, but see what feels best for you. Then we're thinking about dropping the chest, maybe the forehead, if you like the chin and the chest, down towards the ground. Excuse me. See if you can keep the breath steady. It's always challenging in this pose. Or the more dynamic variation, it's going to be a funky one-legged crow, not as terrifying as it sounds, I promise. So what funky means is we make this shape in the arms. If you pretend this is the ground, one forearm, one hand. We're thinking of a triangle again. Forearm is a side of the triangle, point, point, point. Elbow's going to want to go to the side. We're going to squeeze it in, think chaturanga. So it's kind of like a funky dolphin. You might pause there. This might feel like enough. There's lots of weight really pressing down. We can work within the shoulders. If you wanted to start to take it towards the arm balance, we can take it into a bit of a twist. So if you walk your feet to the left, now we can shift our weight towards that right forearm, squeeze the elbow in. To come to the arm balance, we'll take a knee onto the bicep. You're going to think of leaning forwards as you float up the foot. Just one more breath. Whichever variation you're in, begin to release. Come back to hands and knees. Take a little bit of movement, just how we began. Ease yourself back in. Then we'll go thread the needle. Inhale, right arm up to the sky. Exhale, start to bring the shoulder, maybe side of the head, down to the ground. You can draw the hips back to center. Left hand can come forwards if you want a little bit more length. If you wanted to play with any more length or towards balance and binding, we can tuck the toes, extend the left leg back. You might pause here. You could float the left leg. Or if you wanted to work a bind, we're going to play with bending up the leg to bring the hand to the foot. This one can definitely make you roly-poly. I actually think it is a rite of passage. But just take it slow. One more breath. Release if you haven't already. Left hand back by the face. Come back up the way you came. So we inhale the right arm back up to the ceiling. And then exhaling it down. Little bit of movement. Deciding where you'd like to be for your second variation. You could go back to puppy. If you wanted to take puppy deeper, you can take your hands to blocks. That will give you more space to get down into. If you want to arm balance second side, funky variation, it'll be left forearm down this time, right hand at the other point of the triangle. Squeeze the elbow, tuck toes. You can walk to the right, knee to bicep, looking over the forearm. Maybe you squeeze heels together. Maybe the leg extends. One more breath. Come back to your tabletop. Little bit of movement. Ease it out. Thread the needle second side. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, draw it under. Side of the head drops down. Maybe fingertips reach forwards. Right leg can reach back if you want to work balance or your bind. I'm going to stay here on this side, but you know where you're going if you're binding. One more breath. Slowly take the right hand back down. Inhale the left arm up to the ceiling. And then come back to tabletop. Come to a child's pose variation that works for you. So it could be hips to the heels with the knees wide. Some people prefer the knees together. And if you want any support for your forehead, feel free to take a block or maybe a couple cushions to allow the head to rest down. One of the most challenging things in a movement practice like this is this kind of intensity of focus, of dedication, of energy when we might be working in a shape, and then trying to find this ability just to let it be the expression it was and just let it go immediately after. Exploring it and then not allowing ourselves to attach to it too much. Coming back to the expression behind it, what it might bring us back to. So maybe checking back in on that song, on the breath. Noticing if it might have shifted or changed since you began. And when you're ready, we'll start to bring ourselves back. And we're going to bring the hips to the ground. Bring both feet forwards in front of you. Almost like we were going to do Baddha Konasana. But then we're going to take the feet a little further forward so we can release the low spine a little bit more. Start to take the hands underneath the legs. And then we're going to think about doming the spine here. So relaxing down the back of the neck. It might look something like this. If there's a little more space for you, you could go elbows underneath the legs, maybe hands to the feet. And the kind of direction of what we're thinking is forehead to the ground. If you're not feeling too much here, you wanted to go deeper still, you can just start to elevate the feet a little bit. So it can take a little bit of construction, but we'll be here for a little bit longer. So take your time, or you can pause me. Last breath here. Slowly ripple up to upright. Take your feet out nice and wide, so just a little bit wider than your mat, wider than the hips, and knock them side to side. And then we're going to start to bring ourselves down to the ground. So just making sure you've got the space back behind you, hands under the knees. Or inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, roll down to the ground. We'll take a moment in constructive rest pose. So taking the feet about as wide as the mat again, allowing the knees to rest onto one another. If you've got the space around you, the arms can come out wide. Just finding a position where they feel restful. Another 4 breaths here. When you feel ready to start to let that release, we'll draw the knees into the chest, give yourself a big squeeze. Now it tends to be from about this point in the practice, I give you a little bit of time to move in your own way. So maybe just starting to feel if there are last movements or last shapes you want to take before we come to stillness today. So you might normally like to end with a couple back bends and a twist. Maybe it's a happy baby. You might want to take an inversion of any form. Could be a shoulder stand for something more restorative, or legs up the wall. Pretend there's a wall. Could be a headstand. Take some time for you. Personally, I'm going to keep it simple today. I'll just be taking a happy baby. But we'll be here for around another 10 breaths. If you need more time, of course, just feel free to pause the video. And when you feel ready, I'm going to give a couple options today. So we've kind of been focusing in on this theme of expression. I thought it'd be really nice to bring a little bit of use of the voice again, a little bit of chanting into the space. So I've got my sweet little Shruti box that you might have noticed in the background that I'm going to play with just a little bit of gentle chanting. You can use this as kind of an alternative to Shavasana music if you like, extending the body out long, starting to find somewhere that's comfortable to rest. Or if you'd like to join in, maybe start to experiment with your own vibrations, your own voice. We can either take it as a kind of call and response, so I'll give space, or you can maybe just start to explore your voice in any way you like. So whether you'd like to be lying down, seated, or any comfortable pose, just begin to make your way. Once you've found where you'd like to be, invitation to take a couple sighs just to begin to release the physical practice, symbolizing that letting go. Full inhales, sighing it out. So we're going to begin with a few hums, if you'd like to join. Don't have to worry too much about the quality of the sound. Giving yourself the space just to be with the expression behind it. initiation mantra, which is Om Mani Padme Hum. Translates roughly as the jewel of the lotus resides in my heart, and it's supposed to embody all of the deepest compassion and the deepest kindness. The mantra can be interpreted many, many different ways. My own personal interpretation is this acknowledging of the beauty, the jewels that come out of hardships, the lotus, this beautiful thing that grows from mud, and how that resides within us. So it's acknowledging this compassion towards ourselves, but also sending it out, acknowledging it with all beings. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And then back to Om. Begin to allow the breath to return, perhaps to deepen. If you've been in your Shavasana, maybe inviting in some movements to welcome you back. At your own pace, you can let those movements expand. If you felt like stretching or taking the hands to the body. And take all the time you need. But if you're not there already, you can gently begin to welcome your way to a seat. Take any props, any stretches you need along the way to support yourself. Once seated, we're going to rub the hands onto one another. Create some heat in the palms. And I want some nice warmth as built, placing the hands over the center of the chest, energetic heart space. Feel the warmth of the hands radiate to the body. Inhale. Cleansing sigh out. This time inhaling through the nose, exhaling in your own way. Bow the head to the hands, bow to the heart. Honor yourself, your expression, your practice. Often some of the most challenging parts of practice are simply getting to the mat, so acknowledge the time and the space you've given yourself today. It's really never any small feat. Show gratitude to this wonderful body that supports you. And finally, gratitude to our community, online, cyberspace, a community nevertheless, where we can share practice together. If you'd like to, take the thumbs to the center of the brow, intuition space. Take a final inhale. Exhale to close. Thank you so much for being here. If there's anything you need, if you have questions or anything, feel free to reach out. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Have a fabulous rest of your week, and I'll hopefully see you next time. All right. Thank you so much.